Evening, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you for your endurance of this day. Welcome to the last panel of the day in this room. We have these lessons learned from Ukraine, useful for our defense industry, new technologies and asymmetric approaches. Practically, this is a continuation of the previous panel, which was speaking mainly about the drone war, but the comments and also the interventions went a little bit further on and gave us a look on innovation, adaptability, efficiency on the battlefield. So very much appreciate to the organizers for organizing this series of panels. And I have the distinguished pleasure to have here with me for distinguished panelists. Initially, they were 6. Unfortunately, we had 2 losses for very obvious reasons. So we have here Andriy SIRKO-GALOUCHENKO. Thank you very much for remaining in the same seat and sharing these 2 panels. Is very important. I would not say much about him because he was already introduced in the previous panel. But what I would like to say here that as he was graduating from an aerospace aviation institute in Kharkiv, he was also specialized in mathematical modeling of control and guiding tasks for pilotless flying objects. This impressed me in his bio, and now I really can understand how an engineer transformed in a UAV pilot and also in a very combat-proven, efficient fighter. We have also Mr. IACOB, Mr. Adrian IACOB, who is Executive Director, Romania and Western Balkans, Lockheed Martin Global Business Development. Prior to joining Lockheed Martin International as Executive Director in '97, Mr. IACOB worked in the aviation simulation and training industry where, based on his aeronautic engineer's background, he was in charge with developing flight models for helicopters, avionic architecture design, and cockpit ergonomic development. Thank you for accepting the invitation, Mr. IACOB. We have Werner SAUERWALD, the head of sales and programs, Rheinmetall Automatica, Romania. He's an experienced defense industry manager. He has accumulated over 20 years of professional experience in defense, commencing his career as a reconnaissance officer in German Bundeswehr. So at the Rheinmetall Automatica, his team work on the implementation and integration of future programs. His vision for the company emphasizes innovation, operational integration, operational efficiency, and a commitment to quality, helping Rheinmetall Automatica meet the rigorous standards for both commercial and military sectors. Thank you, Werner, for accepting the invitation to this panel. Last but not least, we have retired Major General Costică POSTOLACHE, and all the acquaintance of us, who is now the Deputy General Manager for Business Development at Interactive Software, a leading Romanian company specialized in command and control systems for defense and national security. Throughout his career, specifically in the last 2 positions at the Communication Directorate Head and also the Cyber Command Commander, Major General POSTOLACHE has played a key role in advancing strategic technologies, supporting military operations and national defense. So thank you, gentlemen, for being here with us tonight. So the title of this panel is very challenging. So if we looked on the drone wall and how things developed in Ukraine, we are now looking into the industry and how industry could support or could take the lessons learned or the lessons to be learned in Ukraine and implement in the development of the military or other capabilities that security of our nations, security of Europe needs. So if I'm looking to this panel, I was start with the general statement that the conflict in Ukraine has profoundly altered the geopolitical landscape of Eastern Europe and has also provided lessons to be learned for defense industry around Europe and the. So for Romania, a country who shared we shared a good border with Ukraine and similar concerns for security, it was these kind of lessons are crucial, and we are looking especially to the new technologies and also to the asymmetric warfare. Now Ukraine is a master of asymmetric warfare, and this was very much demonstrated in the Black Sea and also in the battlefield. While speaking about the asymmetric warfare, I'm also looking to the new technologies and also to the logistics and supply chains. I hope our panelists will touch upon this. We're looking for partnership because in industry we need also partnership. And also we are looking for how the civilian population or the civilian population intelligence has been gathered in Ukraine and used in a fruitful way in the battlefield, in developing the capabilities. So without further ado, I will hand over the microphone to Andriy SIRKO to provide his remark. Andriy, please.
Hey, hello. I understand it's late. We're all getting tired and losing the focus, so I will try to be slightly more entertaining and sort of we'll use a couple of examples and we'll try to give you a sort of a colorful picture. When the war started, Russians came with a system of integrated UAV deployment. That system was based on three components mainly. Orlan, Multicam, and then Lancet, which was coming. So Lancet was hitting the armored vehicles or artillery units. Multicam was directing looking, and then Orlan was very capable plane in the, I don't know the quantities, but these were tens of thousands of them that they produced. Now they came to that point starting in 2014 when we saw them in Donetsk when they were exercising. Then they exercised it in Syria, and then they came in the 22 thinking that they have already the sort of the golden fish in their hands. Now Ukrainians counteracted with lots of sort of toy UAVs directing Ukrainian artillery, and quickly started sort of race. And the first thing, they adopted agricultural drones that were bombing at night with night vision and burned a lot of Russian equipment with that. And then it went into steps, sort of action, counteraction, catching up, introducing something else. And I will give you a couple of examples of that. The one development when Ukrainians came up with the FPV drones, Russians were behind. And then obviously, which Mustafa mentioned, that Russians are good at scaling things. Like they have the financial resources, they have control of the state, and they have learned very quickly, very important. And when we think of the lessons for the manufacturing, for the production, we should consider lessons both from Ukraine and from Russia. They came very quickly with the concept that, with all my respect to Lockheed Martin, my client in the past, I've sold for them satellite some time ago. With all my respect to Boeing, with all my respect to large military contractors companies, they are not capable of moving very quickly and jumping into FPV production. They just don't have in their blood. They will never be able to do it. So Russians figured that. And what they did, they threw money at the private initiatives, and then they took these private initiatives, they actually produced something, and they moved them back into state-owned or state-influenced large factories, saying, what is that you need? Oh, we need 2,000 square meters. Here you have. What is that? I need a metal bending equipment. Here you have. And then they watch it. So they throw money, and they allow resources, and then they have result. But they don't force the large companies to become the FPV producers, which is a very important lesson to learn. Then the Ukrainians invented the fiber optic drones with fiber optics, and they were slow adopting it, and now Russians have thrown significant money with Chinese support. It's all produced by China, and they introduced that. Incredible impact on Ukrainian logistics, incredible impact, very negative, very difficult to deal with them. We have been looking for, for months and months and months for remedy. Not an easy task to achieve. Lately, Ukrainians have been catching up with this fiber optics, and the same as Russians were destroying our logistics, we were destroying the Russian logistics. So we now have lots of videos where our drones are hitting their unmanned land vehicles. So all the logistics now moving on these land vehicles. Ukrainians are doing that as well. So it goes step by step, and we have to learn from all of it to understand the dynamics of it and where it's going. Now, I will stop right there, and I will come back to the remark from the previous panel. Can Europe build its own military capabilities, especially in UAV? Absolutely yes. First, they have to understand that the private initiative this should be leading. Second, they have to give all the resources. And they should look at the part of the history we had when Roosevelt had US just recovering from Great Depression, still in the Great Depression, Europe in war, and dilemma what to do. And what they did, they didn't go for the best. They said, what is functional? Okay, this tank, is it the best in the world? Absolutely not. Can we make it simple? Absolutely yes. What is the airplane? This is the airplane, Boeing, by the way. Can we make lots of them? Are they the best airplane? No. But can we make lots, relatively cheap and functional? Yes. Then they allocated resources. They were not shy delegating it to people and giving them responsibilities. From 1942 to 1945, it was almost no civilian cars produced in US. They shifted the entire automotive production to the army needs. Now, I happen to know what the state of the European automotive industry at the moment. Think about benefit if you allow these companies to engage. It's enormous. So you have the money, you have the industrial base, you have the laboratory, which is Ukraine. Why not make it happen? Now, I will now make a selfish announcement, but it's relevant to the topic. I've been asked to put together a consortium to help Europeans provide automated surveillance for an aquatorium in the Baltic Sea where automatic removal of unexploded ordnance are done in the Baltic Sea. After the Second World War, millions of tons of that stuff was dumped, and it's off the German coast, off the Polish coast, off the Baltic countries' coast. Now TNT, trinitol, is coming out of the rotten shells, and it's in the mussels, it's in the shells, it's in the fish already. So it has to be removed. We have been invited. We put together a consortium which is led by a Slovak-Ukrainian IT company called Altamira. And what we have decided to do is, now we're working on that project, but we also have a lot of linkages with Ukrainian developers of UAV products. We decided to make a laboratory out of that Slovak company that offers outsourcing support to any initiative, any startup in Europe, competing for these billions of euros that are being thrown at the defense sector. So basically, it would be pointless for us, Ukrainians essentially, competing with Romanians, Poles, Swedes for all this money. It's much better if we provide services to these initiatives. And that's what we are happy to do. We now have moved some engineering resources to the Europe because it's very difficult to get something out of Ukraine, and it's difficult to work with Ukrainian companies. And I give warnings to all of you because they live in the war. We live in here in peace. When you have no electricity for 18 hours, when your requirements from military are changing every second week, when the Russians are introducing something and all of a sudden 20,000 drones you have provided are not flying anymore, and these people have strict contracts with military because in Ukraine it's the same contract as anywhere. You have penalties, you have deadlines, and so they are trying to survive in that chaos. And if you come to them and say, hey, let's help that startup in whatever, Belgium, Sweden, Germany, they will, I cannot give you all the F words that I would hear from them back. They cannot function that way. So we have decided to establish a separate vehicle for the purposes of helping these startups that are targeting the budgets that Europeans are providing. The help could be in certain outsource engineering work. The help could be with technical advice, how it's being really deployed and used on the front line. The help could be bringing their product to Ukraine and then setting up a situation where it's being used on the battlefield. But anything to do crossing border and bringing it to the front line is a difficult exercise. We have done it numerous times. It's difficult. So before that happens, there has to be a lot of work done testing it in European setting, in Ukrainian setting, not in the front line, without military. And that's, we are setting up capacity to deal with that. So for me, it's the formula. And again, that's not Altamira is the unique. There are, I don't know, hundreds of initiatives of the same kind. But for me, it's the best way to cooperate. There are some requests, and it's natural. When you talk to somebody and they say, oh, we are developing aiming and targeting system based on AI. I know 5 projects in Ukraine. One of them was financed by me personally, doing the same thing. So logically saying, maybe we can introduce you and you guys can decide on some sort of, again, for Ukrainians, it would be difficult to work with Europeans on joint development, but certainly under certain agreement, they can have a knowledge transfer, because where we are in this bloody war, we have no choice. We have to survive. So we are ready to cooperate. So as Mustafa Naim said, please come, but don't sit and wait, because there will be time. I will close my speech with one sort of retrospective thing. February 2022, Russians are coming to Kiev through Belarusian border and coming to Kharkiv, bombing Kharkiv, coming to Kherson. Tens of thousands of people lost their lives on the front line, giving Ukraine those 3 days, 4 days to group their thinking, redistribute resources, and get some first help, which was by the way, very hesitant from the West. But those people bought those invaluable 4 or 5 days. Think about big picture. Ukraine is buying for you 4 years already. Ask yourself, ask your politicians, have we done enough in these 4 years bought by blood and deaths of hundreds and injuries of hundreds of thousands of Ukrainians? Answer, you know. But now it's time to act. And Europe can now, again, there was a question about US, which we're all perplexed with, even American citizens. I mean, with the current course and how it's developing, we're buying chips, we're selling chips, we're not selling chips, we're occupying countries, we're starting a small war with oil-rich but minuscule country. I mean, what is that is happening there is difficult to comprehend. But beyond that, Europe has to grow up and has to become a self-sufficient, I don't know, unit. And that is in the hands of the European politicians and European business, and come to us. We'll provide all the help we can for us together to become strong, defend it, and have our peace and live for tens of years thereafter without catastrophes that we have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Andriy. Yeah, you're right. I think this is one of the biggest lessons to be learned. In here in Romania and also in Europe and across the Atlantic. We need to ask ourselves better and deeper what we have done so far to support in an effective way Ukraine. And that question will still remain open until we will decide ourselves, we will make the mind of ourselves to do whatever should be done to be more efficient. I will now turn to the next speaker, Mr. Iacob. Please, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting us. First of all, I will try to answer some of the questions of my predecessors. One of the questions was about the slowness of big companies. Margin point. I will tell you, from a big company moves fast only when it has something to hide. Otherwise, they don't move fast. Okay. Second question was, is Europe ready, able to spend 150 billion euros for? My answer is yes, and I explain you why. Because the most pleasant way to spend the money is in parties, the most exciting with horses, and the fastest is with engineers. If you go with engineers, you'll spend the money very quickly. So we have this experience. I used to work in the Research and Development Institute, so I know how it is. So it's from this perspective. Now, coming back to the more serious things, I would say that lessons learned. I wouldn't talk about lessons learned. I said lessons experienced. I'm not sure they are learned or not. But what we have seen is that for the time being, Europe, as it is today, has at least 4 areas where there is no solution for defense. One is hypersonic. Even Americans have a certain probability to fight against. Another one is space. General Berdila mentioned this. Another one, which is very specific for Romania, is heavy lift. So the first days of the war are about the war. The next weeks and months are about logistics. So if we are not able to transfer the logistics, and we don't have railways, highways, things like that, so we don't have heavy lift. A400 cannot land in Focșani, for instance, so we need a heavy lift helicopter, and Europe doesn't have today a heavy lift helicopter. And the last one is a very long range and very accurate, high precision ammunition. Now, Ukraine started to fill this gap slowly, but I don't know what, even the accuracy of the American weapons is now affected by the jamming done by, so from this perspective, what I'm seeing is that European industry needs European industry needs American industry to work with, and the good news is that the American industry needs, the same extent, the European industry, and I will give you just an example. F-35 is 40% produced in Europe. So I speak this from my company. So in other words, Americans need Europe as much as Europe needs Americans. So from this perspective, industries are ready to cooperate, and I think are still ready to cooperate. Ready is an exaggeration, because besides Rheinmetall, sorry, here, I don't see too many other European companies ready to cooperate with Lockheed, for instance. I give examples, I don't know about the others. So we are working together for F-35, for long-range ammunition. Probably will go very soon to work on the next generation rotorcraft capability. So there is Rheinmetall understood that alliance with Europe, with America, will fill in the technological gap that should be filled in before this happens. On the other side, I would like to say that Lockheed Martin logo is ahead of ready. We are not against ahead of ready, but this is very clear that we are aware of the necessity to move very quickly. Okay, this is, from this perspective, this is a message to the European industry that I'm sure that the American industry is ready to give a hand to work together, to solve this. Because, frankly speaking, to make the long story short, because the profit is unfortunately still the basis of the capitalism, America needs Europe from, at least for the marketing purposes. So let's talk very really. Second aspect, which is something that I noticed, what we learned from Ukraine, is related to the cars. This, if you remember, we were told that we don't have cars. So this is very important, specifically that I would say that Romania, particularly speaking about Romania, because I'm Romanian before being Lockheed Martin. So I think Romania has cars, and we have graphite, mangan, okay, gold, uranium. So in other words, we have cars. The problem is we have to play these cards properly, and this is another thing of diplomacy and the level of politicians. I would say that even the industrial cooperation is just a matter of government willingness and government will. And here is what I'm saying. And I say this because, at least in Lockheed Martin, we have two rules: follow the money, follow the government. So it's, from this perspective, is something that we have to take into account. So this is a message to the maybe political establishment to work G2G, European level, to try to reinforce the industry by putting together the American and European industry. From technically speaking, if we speak of drones and everything else, these are, in my opinion, just examples that we have to focus on, and could be a starting point. I agree with you here. And from this perspective, I would say that nowadays, with all the respect for European industry, Ukraine is much more advanced. Probably people haven't noticed that recently, recently is about several months, 2 months, something like this, a group of Russian soldiers surrendered themselves to a Ukrainian robot, which was coming to a bunker. So this is a sign that Ukraine is starting to be ahead, because the need will push Ukraine much farther than, we are still in Europe, we are living the nice life, but the Ukrainian pressure is too much, too high, and they have to solve they don't have time to do tests, super tests, evaluation studies, feasibilities, things like this. They have to do it on time. So from this perspective, I would say that if we don't keep the pace with Ukraine, European industry will start losing momentum, especially because the war will be different. As Mr. Mustafa Nayem said, we are preparing for something else. We are, with all the respect, we buy infantry vehicles, we buy, here I have a disagreement with charming General Berdile. So the first, we are buying ships, we are buying infantry vehicles, we are buying tanks. How many Russian ships are in the Black Sea? None. They have been, the famous Russian lake is not anymore a Russian lake. They're done, because the Ukrainian drones made the Russian fleet disappear. So the war for the European countries, for the NATO countries, will be, in my opinion, different, and we can see this every day. The railways are blow up, and the airport activities stopped and troubled by 4 drones flying over the airport. So we are not preparing, in my opinion, for the right war. Ukraine is preparing for the right war, and we have to learn from them. From this perspective, I have to admit that we are very behind. And the last area that Europe is behind, okay, is artificial intelligence. America, China are kilometers ahead. So while we waste our time doing regulations and tests and ethical studies, they are moving ahead. And finally, with all the respect, I don't have too many years to live probably, but my grandchildren will become the slaves of the people who will own the artificial intelligence. This is, to me, my anticipation. So we will beg. Okay. Fortunately, Romania will be in a good position because we will have food. Okay, from this perspective, we are still okay. But the countries that do not have food or let's say enough resources will suffer significantly from this perspective. So I raise my case.
Thank you, Mr. Jakob. Indeed, challenging what you mentioned, and you had a critical eye on what's going on here around and also in the world. I will turn now to our next speaker, to Werner. Werner, thank you also for what Rheinmetall is doing, specifically in Romania, with so many sites open in Satu Mare, in Mediaș, Sibiu as well, probably some other more. And you are one of the examples of decentralized industry. So I would like to invite you to have your intervention, please.
Thank you, sir. Yeah, it's a great honor to be here, of course, and to speak about these. And of course, also thank to all the speakers before, of course, especially what Andrei, I think, said. And of course, it reminds us that after almost 4 years this is going on, we can still talk about the lessons learned, of course, is because of the brave Ukrainian soldiers, yeah, of course, buying us the time to sit here and speak, even 4 years afterwards. So thank you for reminding us to that. And of course, Adrian, also thank you for your words as well. Yes, I believe also defense industry cannot go without cooperation, and of course it is cooperating. Yeah, we are cooperating for the F-35 is a great example, of course, where it's a transatlantic partnership, transatlantic cooperation. So, of course, this is something where, of course, we need Europe needs America, and America needs Europe, as you stated. So, thank you for that as well. So, of course, yeah, what are the lessons that we can talk, that we see, that I see? Of course, it's on the one hand, yeah, the digitalization, the transparency of the battlefield, the fully connected, yeah, live monitoring, every move, every unit is basically seen. Yeah, with satellites, with all drones, of course, 100% drone coverage. It's hard to hide anything. And of course, it is the connection to also work with this data, to use this data, and of course, yeah, for me, coming from the vehicle business of Rheinmetall, of course, it's not to integrate the digital world into our vehicles, but it is, of course, to build the vehicles around the digital world, or this goes hand in hand, and of course, it is the implementation of the digital world into the vehicle into the digital world. While we were talking maybe some years ago about sensor to shooter connectivity, of course we see now this is done in real life in seconds, and of course, and so is doing the opponent as well. This is also, I guess, a lesson. While in the conflicts before, of course, our opponents were technologically not as advanced as we are, and there was always the technology, where we were where we were in the better position. This is, of course, something. We see innovation on both sides, and this brings me to the second lesson I would touch. Of course, is innovation. Asymmetric innovation, fast innovation. low-cost innovation that we are currently seeing, as we learned also in the previous panel, development cycles of 48 hours, yeah, of course, where innovation took decades. Yeah, when I think about the Leopard 2 that was developed over 10 years, of course, the first serial version of the Leopard 2 was the 2A4, meaning there were version 1, 2, and 3 not making it until serial maturity. We're talking about the 70s and early 80s. So of course, and we do not have these decades of development time. Of course not. We cannot wait for 10 years to have a major weapon system be ready. It needs to be ready, of course, from day one, and of course it needs the maturity to go into serial production. And of course, this is also something we can learn. Wars always were of course times for great innovation, but I think the Ukrainian war now even shows this even more, that it is really a war of the 21st century, and I don't think that in history it was development cycles of 84 hours. It was also in World War II, it was development cycles that were longer. So innovation is number 2. Then of course, number 3 is still logistics and sustainment, which will always have been for all wars, I guess, a major key for success. Of course, and this is where I really believe in local sourcing. Of course, the supply chains need to be short. It cannot be that it is over thousands of kilometers where the parts will bring together. Of course, local production, the goods where they are needed. This is really of importance, and of course to source local, but also have the compatibility to have the components work together, the commonality, also the integration. And of course, it is a hard task to integrate innovative and digital and really customized solutions that will fit then in various solutions. But of course, this has been shown with mission models that go onto various vehicles, that components that can be put from one vehicle to another. This is, I think, great examples of sustainability in defense industry that is needed. Of course, we do need this, and we do need this cooperation as well. So while, of course, components were designed to be switched in the field, exchanged in the field, this is, of course, something we need to continue. Repairing in the field, maintenance in the field, local repairing in locally, and of course the design of the system, of the vehicles, and must be ready for this task of sustainability. Must be ready for this complex task, but of course also sustainability in a human way. I think this is something we see as well, comparing Soviet Union Eastern vehicles with Western vehicles. Of course, is that I hope at least that after explosions and that the crews have a bigger chance to survive, which is also sustainable thinking. Of course, it's from a human perspective, number one, that the crew will survive, but of course a crew that survives one attack can train others, can maybe even step into the next vehicle and go out for the next mission. So of course it is also a survivability topic when thinking about sustainability. So, and then of course lessons 4, then lesson 4 would be the interoperability. Of course it is First thought of interoperability is, of course, with ammunition, with, which is, I think, something we have learned really in the early days of the war, that the ammunition needs to be working on all various guns. The 155 millimeter ammunition needs to be working, and of course needs to be operational, but it's also spare parts, it's modularity again, that needs to work. And of course, it needs to be exchanged, going into the logistics as well here. So it is interoperability that gives us also sustainability, gives us the option to sustain longer interchange. And of course, it's standards. It's again the digitalization, where of course digital systems, as I have said, need to work together. Where I think this is really a challenge, but of course, we are working on it from day to day, every day on it, on this interoperability topic. Of course, one more thought for this is, of course, the competition. The competition in the defense industry also helps interoperability, because, of course, the different systems the competitors bring up, they need to work together. So competition also helps. Competition is an accelerator for innovation, but also challenges this interoperability and, of course, focuses it. And the best system in a market Darwinism way will survive, will be the one that will be picked. So competition helps, and I think, and there is also something where the speakers before have mentioned, yes, Europe has this innovation. Yes, the Western world has this innovation. How many the startup scene for defense in Europe is growing so tremendously, which I would say is, of course, still the reason behind the war is that sad thing itself, a sad cause. But of course, with this innovation we have in these defense startup scene, from Berlin, Paris, Munich, even to Bucharest, where we have defense startups working on various fields. And I think this is also something that really is something that will help and gives us as well some sustainability for the future. So, having said that, of course, I see the lessons that we need to learn, that we need to adapt. Of course, bigger companies maybe struggle more with learning lessons, but of course we are doing, and startups maybe have it easier. But of course we are applying them for every day. We have learned that 84 hours of development cycle is a challenging thing, but we are adopting. We are doing this. Local supply chains are of course key, and sustainable supply chains are key to future and to build up defense complex industry. And this is what we are trying, of course, every day. And then, of course, integrating digital world into vehicles is also key and cannot go in 21st century without. So this then, ends my case. Thank you.
Thank you, Werner. I would like to turn now to our next speaker, to Major General POSTOLACHE. I know that you are coming more from a C2 environment, and I would like to hear your position. Please, General.
Thank you. Good evening. When we try to talk about the lesson for the defense industry, we should consider that we have to have here a binomial. Because by the definition, the defense industry, it's a business to government. We may develop, we may invent a lot of things, but having no partner with to discuss and to agree the next development and the interest, this could be very difficult. And here I may sustain what Mr. IACOB said. I can argue that we have learned the lesson. We just noted the lesson. And we are, let's say, discussing about this lesson, but learning the lesson means putting something in place. And by the experience of Romanian company, I'm not so confident that we learned the lesson. For example, in Ukraine, we noted that to have a good or very good technical development, there is a very close relationship between the user and the producer. Mr. Mustafa said he may adapt his system in weeks because the technology will be adapted in weeks because the enemy is there and he's as smarter as we consider that we are. So this is the need for a continued discussion and very close relationship. We may notice that at least in Romania we didn't learn something because the acquisition procedure has a law from 15 years. Nothing changed. The procedure of establishing the technical specification and to launch a procedure for acquisition may take years. We're lucky that we are not in the front because otherwise any system that we may achieve will be very outdated when we face the enemy. So we should learn the lesson. We should open the discussion at the national level what we want with our defense industry. We noted that the resilience is the most important things. You should have what you need when you need. You cannot wait for somebody else to provide something. Even at the beginning is considered to be a security chain. They may arrive in 2 years. Nobody will wait for us with 2 years to have what we have. So we need to build here at least the most important things to defend ourselves. Also, we may need to adapt what we want for the future. As Sirko said, probably doesn't deserve to develop an UAV industry. This could be at the top as long as you have the enemy and you have the opposition. Otherwise, you'll put aside your devices and will be for nothing, because in 6 months, everybody will have something against. We should look to the, let's say, industry and capabilities that are a long term. We should have the C4ISR capability to be aware and to be prepared when the enemy is going to come to us. Probably we should invest in our deterrence capability, because nobody will trust us than that we can defend if we not have something to show that we can defend. But this needs a dialogue, and for myself and for at least our part, it seems that the dialogue is not open yet in Romania. Even the famous SAFE program, I haven't been discussed with the committee, or I don't know which Romanian industry partner have been discussing with the government committee that already promoted the programs. Probably worth to have knowledge what is happening, what can be done in Romania, because there are things that can be done in Romania right now. There are things that could be done in the C2 part, in the, let's say, the software part. I cannot produce a tank, but I can produce a good C4I system. So it's a need to adjust and to open the discussion between the government and the industry, to have the local industry that will be good for the, let's say, for the defense. The industry could be a drag chute, the defense industry, because many of these technologies have, let's say, dual use. They will be worth and for the future. And the money we should, we should spend for developing our capabilities and maintain our people here and our technology here. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to turn to the audience first to see if there are some other questions. If not, I will start challenging you a little bit, and I will start with a very simple one. Andriy mentioned at the beginning about the acquisition procedure in Russia, in Ukraine. You, Werner, also mentioned about the competition and so on. But let me ask you, and I will ask you to answer in a row. Would you consider that the competition is a showstopper or an enabler? And if we have to turn it into an enabler, what you, as companies, you're supposed to be doing?
difficult question, frankly speaking, and I'm telling you this because if we compare F-35 with any aircraft in the world, does the competition make sense? I don't think so. So it's what I'm saying. So if you look at the space capability that United States has, does the competition make sense? No. If we look at the PAC-3 MSE as a missile capable to defeat a hypersonic missile, is there anyone in the world? No, there is only one. So from this perspective, no. Okay. What I'm seeing now is that, I don't know, this is just a speculation, but SAFE will create, by putting pressure on the countries, will create the need to deliver by 2030 and also sign the contract by May 2026. So running a competition is unlikely. Yeah. And so government should decide on other criterion, I don't know, on other criteria. So it's from this perspective, if we want to use this money, because my perception is, and just another speculation, that we are in the mode, we have certain billions of money fell from the moon on our ground, free money, because at 2.5%, 10 years grace period is free money, actually. So let's use this money by doesn't matter what. Just spend the money and to have something. It's much better to have something than having nothing. This is a high risk, and in my opinion, it's, okay, again, I have to quote Mustafa Nayem, okay, that it's not necessarily a good thing to quote your predecessors, and don't look, you're very smart, but have to quote him again, saying that to me, the competition, now we don't have time for the competition. We have to run it very fast and to make it happen. So it's Europe cannot afford it, to doing this. So it's especially when you have such solutions. So to me, the competition makes sense when you have time. So now we don't have time. So it's probably a sole source, and decision is relatively easy. Usually, yeah. It should be based on performance on the other side. And what Mr. Mustafa said is, this money you have today, Europe cannot spend its money unless they spend it on American equipment, because this is relatively easy to be and especially on that equipment that covers those European Union gaps that cannot be covered by something else, by a European-made equipment. So it's good some of this equipment may go maybe to Ukraine, because I refer, for instance, for Patriot systems. Patriot is not a Lockheed Martin system, by the way, I don't like to say it. So just to give an example. So from this perspective, if we want to respond quickly to a real need, which means defending Ukraine, means defending Europe, and any missile that Ukraine shoots is a missile in favor of Europe. So, and okay, we are complaining that we don't receive the missiles, yes, but the missiles that Ukraine shoots, they are shooting the missiles for us. So from this perspective is something that we have to take into account. So in safe environment, probably not. If you think of a long term, competition makes sense, because especially within Europeans, and this will also give the time to Europeans to stay together, to make, okay, as we work with Rheinmetall, Lockheed Martin, maybe to work with Airbus, or work with Navantia, or work with Leonardo, or somebody else. So to give the time to European companies to find their American partners, or let's say European partners, they can work together in order to build a state-of-the-art system that, because I'm telling you very, very frankly, the first line of defense, which is Eastern Europe, needs the first-class equipment. If you don't have first-class equipment, you die. very clear. And the example is, for instance, Ukraine used to have helicopters. They used to have the Russian-style helicopters, and they gave up these helicopters and used Black Hawk, because Black Hawk is a military design helicopter. When you crash with Black Hawk, you don't die. If you crash with a civil helicopter, you die. This is a simple difference between these two things. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Jakob. Werner, please, your turn.
Yeah, thank you. So I strongly believe in competition, but of course I agree with you that competition always takes time. So it is of course you have to decide and think, and of course, yeah, and plan, and we don't have time for sure, but of course competition makes in the end, of course, will choose the best system if it is used in a wiseful way. And where I say, of course, it is a challenge for the acquisition agencies in order to organize these acquisitions, and of course, in order to not spend too much time. Of course, we see when a competition and a competitor then that has lost the competition goes in front of court, and the whole thing is stopped. The whole acquisition is stopped because the court now decides for the next years, needs time to decide on this. This is not, of course, something we do not have. So it is. It needs well organized competition. Right now, it really needs a quick competition. But for me personally, I believe that of course the market will bring the best solution, which of course needs preparation from the buying side, from the procurement agency, of course, and well organization, well shaped requirements, and again this again needs time, and of course again the big acquisition programs, they need to be really good prepared, and I believe of course that the acquisition agencies are doing their job and working on this, but again to have competition, where I believe in, is a tough job. It needs well organization, but in the end makes all of us better, because of course, as I said before, with competition, of course we need to be better than the competitor, and this again improves the product, improves the adjustments, adapters to the product. So in the end, everybody has a positive outcome. But of course, time is key. And by having said that, I think it's a vicious circle between time and competition. But again, this needs to be wisely dealt. Thank you.
Thank you. Sharon, please.
Yeah, it's okay? Okay. Yeah, of course, competition, it's a healthy thing for the industry. Having a competitor, you want to be better, you want to improve ourselves, but there are some, not limits, but there are some consideration. You may not compete for the same things year by year. Once you start a program or something that have a time life, you should stay on that one. You should press the, let's say, the industry, but you should maintain the system, because there are a lot of implications, at least in the defense. There are a lot of, let's say, connection with other systems. You may need to adapt all the interfaces. That will make a nightmare for the people that are in the operational side. So the competition is good, but let's say once the competition is finished, you have to keep the system at least for a while, at least as long as the technology worth to be maintained, and then probably another competition worth to be again started.
Thank you. I would like to turn to Andriy to address your question. You know that there have been quite a lot of intrusion in Romanian airspace, and there were a lot of debates whether we detect the drones on time or not, what kind of countermeasure we took to destroy them, and so on. There were plenty of discussions and plenty of critics, specifically on the armed forces. What would you advise Romania in detecting and engaging the drones.
First, mention something interesting on the competition side. I didn't want to sort of interfere, but it's kind of anecdotal how competition with the military production works in Ukraine. Government was trying to be flexible. They're not good at sort of changing things in Ukraine, anywhere, but in Ukraine as well. So at certain stage, they were sort of trying to change system this way, that way, 25 different ways. So now what they have done, they have given money to the brigades, to the units. And brigades are walking around and they say, show us how that works. Do you want to try? Do you want to use it? Okay, give us 20 of those. And sometimes they even bring cash. I mean, it's anecdotal, but that's how it works. Now, that sort of voting with your own money is a very effective way of competing. But it's idiotic way from the point of view of industrial production, because if you are an industrial company, if somebody comes and say, can we get the 2 Leopards? And then somebody else goes, can we get 1.5 more? I mean, you have to plan production, you have to invest money. So, no, but this is anecdotal, but just illustration of how it works. Nowadays, we have this Danish model with Europeans coming and buying for the military purposes. That is interesting. That is actually working, and I'm a big advocate of that. Coming back to the question how to deal with the intrusion and detection. The one thing that one of the people sitting in this room with whom I had a dinner, I think it was 5 years ago, I said this very unpolite at the dinner table, very unpolite sort of made a remark to one of the members of the European Parliament, where he was saying that, oh, we need to buy this weapon and that weapon and produce it and this. I said, listen, you have no problem with the absence of weapon. You have a problem with willingness to use it. And my wife stepped on my foot, and I had sort of a night conversation about not being polite. But first of all, you guys have to, I mean, as a previous panel, there is no defense without offense. Like if you're being spit in the face or slapped in the face, you have to be able to kick with your leg. If you don't do it, you know. I have to praise Turkey. When Russians misbehaved on the sort of line of interest of Turkey, Turkey shut down how many planes? They just, you know. And it quickly, I mean, Russians, the mentality of Russians is such that unless you hit him in the face, he will perform that drunk offender, you know, for as long as you allow. You have to hit him in the face. That's unfortunately for all of us Europeans, that's how that tribe is living. So now, sorry, this is philosophical answer, now technical. Detecting a drone is a complicated task because you can do it acoustically, but on a short distance, or you can do it radio location-wise, but for a low-flying object, you have to have again a network of the radio location equipment. Now, what Russians have done for Ukrainians, all this old, dilapidated, half-functional Soviet-time radio location equipment, the radars, were destroyed by the Russian missiles and the aviation day one. Because the tanks, the aviation, we moved quickly, but the radars are more permanently based and easily detected, and Russians have destroyed a lot of it. There will be the same, you know, if things will start sort of developing on your grounds. So Ukrainians have been developing this very distributed network covering vast territories where they listen and they use radars and they're trying to determine what is flying where. We went even so far that there is an application where every citizen can detecting or listening to. Sometimes I have like 15 Shaheds flying over my house because I live on the Dnieper River and they're all coming to Kiev, and I hear them and they have this pronounced sound. So we have, but again, these are sort of anecdotal things. So in order to be able to detect mass of flying objects flying from different directions, and again, you have a Black Sea, so it could be coming from any direction on that front, you have to build a network of those sensors. I showed, by the way, one of the sensors developed by Ukrainians, and this is a combination of the underwater and acoustic above the water. And Ukrainians are good at that. They have developed a very, very interesting systems where you place the certain detection points in the water 5-10 kilometers out with the depths at least 30 meters, separating yourself from the noise of the coast and listening up to 100 kilometers for certain frequencies in the air, on the water, and under the water. And you know who has commissioned their work now? Chinese. I mean, these guys in Kiev, they couldn't sell anything to Ukrainian army, they couldn't sell anything to Europeans, but they have to make money. Well, that's the reality of our today's life. Yes, there are systems, you can build them, they cost money, some of them are cheaper, but because you have large area to cover, it will require the network, the mesh. I don't know if I fully answered.
Yes, although I was waiting a bit more on the engagement side. Yes, you touch upon the identification.
You mean how to destroy? How to destroy?
And the destroy.
Okay,
yeah, because
destroy.
you know very well that it's not easy to destroy even one drone is coming into airspace. It's like a mosquito in the room.
Understood. Ukrainians, when the whole caboodle started with the Shahedi, Ukrainians have created those mobile groups that were using projectors and the machine guns, shutting them down. That worked when they were flying at the 500-meter altitude. First, they were even flying with a white camouflage, like painted in white. Then they learn how to paint them in black. But I'm just saying evolution. So they were changing things. Now, then the Russians have learned their lesson, and now they're flying at 2,000 meters. Obviously, you cannot do it with machine gun. But then when they approach the target, they dive. And that's why Odessa is shooting lots of them, because they're coming from Black Sea on the very high altitude, but then they have to dive to 500 meters. And that's when they die, you can shot them. But unfortunately, when you shot them at the 500 to 700 meters, they still continue the sort of the descent, and they hit the civil infrastructure, houses, whatever, where they fell. Now, we are developing now interceptor industry. Very active 1 year sort of development cycle now. There are some companies that are quite advanced, and the principle of work there are very simple. They have a cheapest radar they can find. They have that interceptor airplane that has special sort of things in the wings that you can see it on the radar, and you cannot mix it up. And then you have on radar you have 2 points. One is the interceptor, another one is the flying Russian object that you are trying to destroy, and then you try to bring them together by flying. Now they have also automated that function where you approach, but the hitting is actually the targeting, the final, like 200 meters is very difficult to automate. People are working, it's now being experimented, but still most of it is done with with the hands of the pilot. Developing very quickly, speeds are increasing. There is a jet-propelled plane that are being developed now by several groups. Again, Russians are now introducing the jet-propelled Shahedi, so it's kind of race on both sides. Have I covered?
Okay, thank you, Andriy. I would like to ask you another question, and again, I will challenge you, thinking that you industry and you Ukraine, you will face a government. You industry will face a government, and you, Andriy, will face Europe. And because we are approaching the holiday seasons and looking for a wishing list, what would be your 3 priorities that you will mention to a government, or you, Andriy, to Europe on your wishing list? 3 priorities that you want a government to take care and you want Europe to take care. We will start from the other way. Please, Mr.
Thank you. I'm eager with the wishes for the government because I really need, or at least the Romanian industry really need the support of Romanian government. And my first wish will be to have a real dialogue with the industry to understand very well their needs, their plan to improve the capabilities. This may support us to prepare to answer to their request. The second one is to have more trust in the local industry, in the local capability, and this is because this is the third one, to understand that let's say even if we are into an let's say not Atlantic Treaty, we are working in an alliance. We should understand that the alliance will do for us more than we can do for us. So we should do first what we can, and then we should expect for the others to do for us. So we should trust, and we should, let's say, consider that we should do everything we can, not to expect for the others to do what we do not do for us. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Werner?
Yeah, okay, yeah, another great question. So, of course, yeah, first wish for the governments, for me, of course, would be more support, even more material for the Ukraine, because I think this has been said often enough, of course, yeah, this is where, yeah, the opponent can be stopped, and of course, yeah, every missile that is shot over Ukraine cannot fly anywhere else. This is pretty clear and pretty...
Excuse me, the question was to you, the industry, in front of a government.
Yes. more weapons to the Ukraine, for sure. Number one. Number two, yeah, of course, quicker decisions, clearer decisions, and yeah, number three, more clear European and transatlantic coordination. So that of course we see more projects like F-35 where we see cooperation between nations, between industries, and that kind of stuff. This is the three wishes. Thank you.
Yep, thank you. Pretty large wishes you have, because the last one is very top political one. I gave you the chance for the industry to voice what are your priorities in front of a government. I hope Mr. IACOB will challenge us as well.
I'm not sure I'm challenging anything. The first one would be Intel in all its forms, space, ground, whatever. Second one would be Special Operation Forces. So to me, this is a type of threat that we risk the highest priority. With Special Operation Forces could be anti-terror, because we expect to have a green man, okay, disguised into a terrorist and coming and this and that. And the third one is a social awareness. So what I say, the fake news fighting. This is a very, very dangerous, because if you don't, exactly what General Berdila said, social is critical in this moment. So it's, if you don't have a social support, the burden of the 5%, 3%, 5% will be difficult to be accepted, in my opinion.
Thank you, Andriy.
I was going to tell a joke, but now I'm not sure I have somebody watching me. Nevertheless, we'll try. You know, like a bad boy is writing a letter to Santa Claus saying, I know I've been bad. I probably don't deserve any material gift. So please, Santa, send me a list of 50 girls that have been bad with their telephone numbers. So my wish list is, if I can find a list of 50 bad boys, bad girls in Europe, which each will get $100 million or euro from their government, and we can bring them to Ukraine to make a Leopard, which is fully protected from drone attacks, an interceptor of a new quality, and 48 other sort of devices. I think with that sort of budget and with competent counterparties in Europe, we can do it all within 6 to 9 months. I mean, not saying we will invent a new tank, no way. But we can do certain things that can be on the front line, doing what we need and saving lives of Ukrainians and making Russians suffer and making them understand that no matter what Americans are trying to do, Europeans with Ukrainians will still defend their cause. That's my, as a bad boy, wish.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. The time is up. We don't have any time left. Let me thank our panelists today. It was a long session and a long day as well. And we don't have to forget that the insight the Ukrainians provided today are very invaluable for us. And we don't have to forget that the chance is smiling to the one who's prepared. And when we think about to be prepared, means behind this flexibility, adaptability, investment, efficiency, courage, and swiftness, while on the background we need to keep supporting strongly and more efficiently Ukraine. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you very much, audience.
Okay, after these panels we have a cocktail.